Get away from her, you bitch!
Oh, shut up, you tart!
Who disrupts my coronation? Get to the chopper!
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
I won't be following Star Trek Discovery. The less said on this matter, the better. Potential rant there. Right, well, we're not doing a Star Trek episode anytime soon then. And if we do, we're not inviting you.
Shit, am I the only one who likes Star Trek Discovery?
Are we the baddies?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Hun, your Geek showing. Carrying on with our trek through the stars. This is our Star Trek episode part 2. Joining me for this week is the random red shirt man.
It's always richer.
Mr. Jimmy Lee Clifford, standing in for the random man guy, Jessup Braithwaite, who during an attack off camera, during an attack with the Borg, was rushed to sickbay with 7 of 9 to play Doctor, apparently.
Does not surprise me. And good luck on that one, mate.
No, but moving swiftly on with this week's episode, we were going to do shout-outs, but there are no shout-outs this week.
Where are you people?
That's
it must be a her. She's off duty, isn't she?
yeah, the comms are down, I think.
Comms are down.
The comms are down and the transporters aren't working. We had a run in with the Borg, what can I say? They keep coming back, but eventually they will learn that persistence is futile. That's for something for later in the episode, everyone. But yeah, so we'll move it on very quickly to that question that gets asked. It was asked at the dawn of time when Caveman Tony turned around to Caveman Guy and said, "Hey, what you been watching, mate?"
Well, not great. It's still been basically the same.
Mm-hmm.
The classic CSI. Well, we watched a bit more of them, their Winchester boys, and unfortunately, as much as I wanted to watch the last episode, I've got to rewatch it because my eyes just fell asleep from sheer physical knackeredness. So I'm going to rewatch that.
It happens. It happens.
It happens to the best of us. Usual, more Marvel stuff with the sun. Nothing new as of yet. And then, obviously, our subject topic. A little bit of a revisit on the subject topic, some of the more modern stuff. And as was mentioned in the previous episode, I rewatched The Voyage Home. And do you know what? Yeah, I could see.
It's better than you remember.
Yeah, there's a few better things there than I thought.
There you go. Then that was kind of the whole point of the episode, was to refresh things.
Yeah.
But I myself have been watching them, their Winchester boys. I was watching them just this afternoon. I've also been doing yet another rewatch of Big Bang Theory because my daughter put it on. And to be honest, though, it's more on in the background while I'm tidying, doing my thing, sat here working, whatever. It's on in the background. It's background noise because I've seen it so many times now. It just,
yeah,
I know the jokes. It's just, it's comfort food for the brain.
Exactly.
But yeah, other than that, I watched a couple of horror films. Nothing of note, nothing to really talk about, really. Stuff I've seen hundreds of times before and we talked about on here before. So not really much in that regard. It's only been a week and it's been a busy week, so I haven't had much TV time when I have watched things anyway.
It has been a busy week for both of us, I think.
Yeah.
Off camera stuff, both of us, we've been very busy.
Yeah. So I suppose that moves us very quickly into the subject of tonight's episode. Now, full disclosure here. We are talking modern-ish Trek when we say that, anything from a start point up to an end point. In the first episode, we covered up to Enterprise. A full admittance, most of us hadn't really watched it apart from a certain someone over
Yours
here.
truly there. I watched most of that. And
Myself and the random man didn't really partake in Enterprise. I watched a bit of season one, a couple of episodes here and there. Just wasn't really my thing.
it does not get any more easy watching Trek from the modern, as some of the other commenters will probably agree.
But in 2009, they decided to reboot the Star Trek franchise at the time. Yes, for the anniversary, they brought back Lemon Nimoy as Spock for one last outing. Sorry, I had to throw that joke.
Yeah, I knew it's called Lemon Nimoy. Yeah.
But they rebooted the franchise. We talked a little bit about this last night. We'll dive into it a little bit deeper. For me, when I heard that after Enterprise had finished, it was quiet for a couple of years. I think that finished 2005 and it was announced 2008.
The second hiatus of Star Trek since the original series. It's a kind of a big point. There was nothing TV, nothing film planned from 2005 for a while. And then
carrying on.
Yeah. And then
around about 2008 that they announced that there was going to be a new rebooted film coming out directed by J.J. Abrams, who was kind of a hot director at that time. When I started seeing, I used to buy Empire magazine. Anyone in the UK, Empire magazine was kind of the film magazine for that kind of time period. Like all the new stuff was coming out in that. I remember reading an article about it, seeing the actors in the costume, Zachary Quinto as a younger version of Spock. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll get to that in a minute. Chris Pine as a younger version of Kirk and all the others. It was like, you know what? I'm kind of down for this. If this is meant to be sort of like a prequel / reboot, I'm kind of down with this. I can check this out. And I did. And the first one I enjoyed. The second one, I don't think I even watched. Sorry, I've got wind. And the third one, Into Darkness, just what?
You've got that out of sequence. First one's Star Trek 09. Yeah. Second one's Into Darkness. Third one's Beyond.
So that was it, Beyond. That was it, the one with the motorbike chase.
Yes.
Yeah, I was not impressed with that one. But having just recently watched them, Mr. Clifford, I'm going to throw them over to you so you can give us your little spiel on it is known by the fans, the Calvin timeline.
It's the Kelvin timeline.
Come on then.
First off, it was J.J. Abrams, the man who suddenly owned the universe, because he was also doing Star Wars at the time. You know, he suddenly became big for both franchises, and both franchises sort of hate him in some respects because they feel it may have ruined both sets of films in some ways. Because lens flare, that's one thing of the big thing of the 09
I do remember
original
that being a big bone of contention with the fans.
Having like I said, I watched some more modern Trek this week, and I watched today. I literally watched the 09 original, and then the reboot, and then I watched Into Darkness, and you can tell that they definitely toned down the lens flare in the second one because of that. But
it did feel very much in the first one like you're half expecting one of them to just turn around to someone in the background and go, "Can you put that fucking mirror down?
Can you turn the lights down here?"
Some ensign in the background with a big plane of fucking mirrored glass, like.
I think that angered the fans. I mean, we are after Enterprise, and like you said, you and Guy didn't watch it. A lot of fans thought, "Oh, well, that's it, game over." Yeah. How are they going to resurrect the franchise anyway?
They rebooted it like they do,
and they rebooted it. Honestly, we're going to get onto the hot topic in a bit. And watching the films, at least they had the testicles to go, you know what? We need maybe some sort of a soft or a hard, or we need to do something new with the franchise.
Yeah,
Go forward, we need to do something. And it's its 50th anniversary.
yeah.
So Christopher Pike, the original character in the original episode, Captain Kirk going forward. Like we want to do something with those characters again for its 50th, because that's where it started.
Yeah.
But we need to take it somewhere in a different direction.
Well, see, that for me definitely is an overarching thing, not just with this film, with franchises in general, right? When you get to these milestone anniversaries, you know, your 25 years, your
25,
30, 40, 50 years.
50. Yeah.
You've
We're
got
almost up to the 60th.
Yeah, but you got to realize that the only reason why these franchises stay around so long is because every so often someone comes along and goes, you know what? The fans are saying they're bored of what we're doing, and what we're doing is the same old shit we've been doing for the past 10 years. So let's try something different, right? Yeah. And it sometimes will divide the fan base because you've got those stick in the muds who don't want it to change, but they want it to get better. It's like, well, you can't have it both ways, right? But then you'll get those old fans who go, oh, okay, this is something new. This is something we haven't seen before. This is something that isn't. Voyager was a prime example of this when they got, you know, you didn't have the fallback species to rely on. You didn't have the Klingons, the Cardassians,
I think they tried to do that a little bit with Voyager, but we're going back over the well, we'll take it out over on a quadrant that they haven't explored, and we can insert some new stuff.
Back to my point, though, doing the whole reboot timelines thing with Star Trek, it is definitely indicative of a franchise getting to that point of the big anniversary, 50 years, half a century, right? Just sit and let that sit with your brain for a minute, right? That is 50 years of television, film, and actors, right? You've got to realize as an audience and as a fucking human being that these actors do not live forever. They fucking get older.
Well, they actually acknowledged. I mean, there was a few deaths, weren't there?
But William Shatner, right, in season 1 of Star Trek does not look like he does today, right? And no matter how much you want these actors to reprise the characters, sometimes it's better to just know they're dead. We don't want to bring them back, even if it's a cameo, tip of the hat, homage, whatever you want to call it. Some of these characters and some of these actors who, unfortunately, the actors that have passed away, that have played these parts, but the ones that are still alive, stop pestering them to come back. It doesn't make sense. It's a fan service and it's wish fulfillment on your behalf.
And this is the thing. I like the Kelvin timeline films. I watched 2 of them today.
I like the first one. I like the first one. Skip the second one. The third one
is hit and miss. Yeah. No, I'm yet to rewatch the third one, but as far as what my memories are remembering this, I do like the first one. I do like the third one. The second one, because you've got Benedict Cumberbatch's Khan, and that's always a hot topic. I mean, this is the thing with the films as well. Because it's a new thing, it's been going 50 years. This is where you get the division in the fan base. They want to do something new.
Yeah.
I personally liked what they did with the films and the Kelvin timeline as a whole.
Yeah.
Right? They like I say, they had the testicles to turn around and go, we're going to do something of a reboot. We've got characters you love, but now they're in a different timeline. So they've got different things. There's different destiny. There's different story.
Hell, in the first film, you get 2 Spocks for the price of 1.
And yes, in fact, that happens the first film and the second film, and they actually acknowledge that Leonard Nimoy. I'll go and run with that. Leonard Nimoy
is the original Spock from the old timeline.
The original Spock had died by the third film. They actually acknowledge it as a homage, and the fact that he dies in the Kelvin timeline is also kind of cool because they can leave that character as he.
It technically closes that loop as well.
And it closes that loop for that particular character rather well. So when it comes to the actual films, I'm okay with these. And the other thing, I mean, some people have got like it dumbs down story and hypes up spectacle
Yeah.
because they've got the CGI. They've
You've got
got
to remember, though, you've got to remember that the time when these films were being put into
Yeah.
production, like 2007, 2008, Michael Bay's Transformers, the live action Transformers film, had
yeah.
not long hit cinemas. It hit August 2007. Wait. Transformers hit August 2007, right? And that definitely kicked off that era of films that it was all about how many explosions, how many slow motion running scenes of hot women and muscular guys can we fit into a 2 hour film with as little story connecting everything together as possible. And I think, unfortunately, because Star Trek, the Calvin timeline came out at that time period,
it suffers a bit from that.
It
doesn't suffer as much as other films released.
Yeah, but it's the studio going, oh, right, well, Transformers made this much money, so we need action that's on level with this. We need more explosions. We need more jiggling boobs running around the screen. We need.
There was a whole controversy over the second film with Marcus, the girl who played Marcus, and the Kirk looking, and she's there in just a bra and underpants. So there's a whole, this is. I watched that film today. I looked at it. I thought, why did everybody lose their minds?
Again, though, you have to remember
that thing and look away afterwards.
You got to remember, though, at this point, these are over 10 years old, these films.
Yeah.
So
I can't believe that as well. I mean, 2009 Star Trek is now over 10 years old.
Yeah, it's
that went fast.
Product of its time slightly. I think things have changed a little bit.
And again with the story, it's like, okay, so there's a bit more action, but do you know what? Star Trek kind of always suffered. I mean, the college got I can't remember who does the little reels, the college ed guys that do funny little reels on Facebook and that pointed out that Star Trek is that nerdy. Where all whereas Star Wars is all the fantasy, we've got lightsabers and they did the contrast of the two franchises. Star Trek pushed forward a little bit and showed off a little bit of what it could have done had it had that side that.
We're going to get to this sort of topic a little bit later on with the shows. We're going to circle back around to the shows in just a sec, everyone. But for me, those films, the first one, like I said, good. Second one, didn't watch it. Third one, but circling back round to the shows now, after the sort of ups and downs and ear gods of some of the decisions made by the film crew, on the TV side of things, on September 24th, 2017.
I know this because in England it came out on my birthday.
We had technically another relaunch, with Star Trek Discovery. Now, full disclosure, when it comes to modern Trek, this is one that I have not watched an episode of. I have watched a review of the first couple of episodes and how bad they were, and I avoided it completely. So this unfortunate twat decided to torture himself by watching it. So
the first 2 seasons.
Jimmy Lee.
I wish Guy was here this week to give us some positivity on this one.
He's going to be gutted he missed this one, especially with the little
Yeah, he's going to be gutted. And honestly, Guy, I'm hoping when you watch this, give us a really good comment about what you feel is good about this show, because I'm still lost as to what is good about this show.
And Guy,
this is where they really went off the rails with this show.
And Guy, I hope that you like the little snippet at the beginning of this episode that is a little homage to you from our friend Gaz over at Strange World Collective. He's been on the show before. We're hoping to get him back for a future episode.
I got notes to try and keep going.
Come on then, Mr. Jimmy Lee. Let's talk about Star Trek Discovery.
Right, okay.
Let's try to polish this turd a little bit, right?
Well, let's try and polish. Yeah, let's try and polish it. Honestly, with the respect of it, it's like I'm trying to be positive and construct something constructive of this.
Give us what you
This-
liked about it first. Tell us what you did like about it first, so then it
right. What I liked about that list is short.
We'll get it done and get it done first then.
That list is. It got the cast generally overall. I got no problem with the cast. It did a good job with the cast, and it introduced a number of good characters. There are some good characters in the new show.
Okay.
There's Tilly, there's Stamets, there's Colbar, and there's a few other good characters about, in the show. And I would have liked to watch how they progressed had they not taken the direction they have with the show a bit more, because some of the concepts for the characters were good. And I mean, especially with Stamets and Colbar were my two sort of favorites. That's the first openly on-screen homosexual couple in Star Trek that should have been done from a very, and it's that particular relationship's handled so well.
I was going to say, we did talk about this off camera.
And we talked about this off camera. That particular.
Wait, I have to interject here. I think we talked about this, and I don't know if other Star Trek fans will agree with me. Probably not, but I don't give a shit. This is my show. It's my opinion. I don't care. Right? So here's what I think. You've got to remember that when the OG Star Trek come out, back then, being gay was still a bit of a...
Still illegal.
That. So I think that if it would have been allowed to be on TV back then, I think it would have been. Because, I mean, let's face it, right? You had, in the mid-1960s, a Russian guy on technically a United Federation starship. In the
middle of the Cold War.
Yeah, I mean, you had...
you've got a Japanese guy sat next to him 20 years after the World War II.
Yeah, it's... I think even that was pushing boundaries back then, but I think if they could have allowed it back then, sure as shit.
And this is what we discussed a little off camera, and this is one of the good things. So the way they handled Stamets and Colbar in a relationship is, from the first two seasons I watched, that is good. It was very good. It's like they can walk around, they share a cabin and everything. Nobody bats an eyelash. Nobody bats an eyelash.
It's normal. Though. It's meant to be like that.
And that's
Star Trek. That's meant to be normalized,
Yeah, and that's Star Trek. That's what Star Trek's trying to aim.
And that will bring me to later on at the end of the episode. There is a point I will make, but this is part of it. I'll come back to that later.
Yeah, and then I've got the nut. Star Trek. We both discussed this off camera. Star Trek has always been woke. That's the point of it.
Lee, we're going with the shows at the moment. Let's go with that first.
I am going with the Star Trek.
Circle back round to this at the end, but okay. So Star Trek Discovery, what you liked about it? The gay couple.
What I liked about it is like some of things like that. Some of the ideas that we're trying to bring in, some of the more modern scientific theories, like the spore drive, which is basically a warp. It's a transportation device using mushrooms. It is the mushroom drive. If you go and look up theories on it, it was kind of cool. They were trying to bring some of that in.
But
all of it's ham-fisted.
Where I come from, a vehicle powered by mushrooms is known as a VW camper van. Just saying.
They've got. I mean, they were bringing in some of the scientific theories, and that making them more aware. And there's things like that turn up that are good.
Let's roll it on.
Like I say, there's very little of...
What didn't you like? Come on, what didn't you like?
The ham-fisted attempt on some of the other aspects of woke generation. It does not know whether it wants to be in the Kelvin timeline or the Prime timeline. It doesn't know which one it wants to go with. You've got Captain Crybaby. I mean, that's a direction of character that I'm thinking is pushed by the directors and the guys off screen rather than the woman portraying her on screen. There's just it's vastly hit and miss. There's some good bits, there's some bad bits. It's all over the place. It rides on nostalgia in the later series. It drags up things that you shouldn't even bother flagging up. And it's the only Star Trek that needed an after show to try and carry it.
Right, moving on.
Moving on.
There was a show called Short Treks, but I didn't even know that existed until I did research for this episode.
I
So,
watched a few of them. They're nothing to shout about. And
okay,
it seems to be like they were put and inserted to hold up the drop
right.
ratings of Discovery.
This
So,
moves on to
yeah, moving on.
this one was so hit and miss for me, right?
Again, this is a hit and miss show.
Star Trek Picard.
Picard.
That first aired on January 23rd, 2020, ran till April 20th, 2023. Got 3 seasons, total of 30 episodes. Now, you've watched the first 2 seasons, but not the third season. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to do some spoilers here for season 3. But Picard seasons 1, 2, and 3, for me, go like this. Picard season 1. Oh, I'm watching Mass Effect. Season 2. Oh, so it's a modern day sci-fi show now. Cool. Season 3. Beautiful nostalgia fan service. Unashamedly, but bloody worth it. Now, what I would explain with this is the first season of Picard, right? I got about halfway through it, and I was just sat there going, this reminds me of Mass Effect. The debate between synthetic and organic, and that there's this sentient race of machines somewhere out in dark space that a synthetic wants to summon to wipe out humankind because it's. And I was just sat there going, wait a minute, this is the plot of Mass Effect.
This is reminiscent of something.
I swear, I've played this video game about 400 times. I was just sat there like the whole season. It was just, the deeper it went into the season, the more I was just like, this is Star Trek does Mass Effect. And I can't help but think that maybe the writers of that first season were sort of fans of the Mass Effect games. And they were like, oh yeah, we want to do something like that, but in Star Trek.
Yeah.
That's my only thought process. And that doesn't make it a bad thing. Because if you're going to rip someone off, why not rip off one of the greatest video game franchises of the last 10 years?
Rip off somebody who's already homaged you multiple times.
Yeah.
And homage them back.
Star Trek influenced Mass Effect. Well, repay the favor. But with that said, though, I did really enjoy season 1 because you've got to remember that as a passing Trek fan, for me, I remember Picard from TNG and the films and stuff. I'm well acquainted with the character. So to see him come back after so long was a bit of a, that's nice. He's retired.
He's on his 3-season run due to his age.
Yeah, but he's sort of semi-retired. He's got his little vineyard. I was like, good send off for Picard. Then season 2 happened. And it's a timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly bullshit cues involved.
It's like Star Trek does Doctor Who.
Yeah. They end up. I mean, don't get me wrong. I liked the sort of Terran Empire thing that they flashed back to again. The alternate timeline where we're basically space Nazis now.
This was a good thing for the Star Trek Discovery. That was one of the only things that kept it going. Frakes' version of the Terran Empire. That was great. But moving forward back to this.
For me, Picard season 2 amped things up to then end on a wet fart. The Jurati Borg Queen storyline that goes nowhere in season 3. Goes nowhere in season 3. The Romulan guy that had sworn himself to protect Picard. Season 3, nowhere to be seen. Just gone. He's out. Gone. So season 2
and brought him back. And he's gone anyway.
But continuing, season 2 for me felt like the did not need to exist season, because by the time season 3 rolls around, all those little plot points that were set up at the end of season 2, gone, forgotten, nothing. And then we move on to a new storyline, and I won't do too many spoilers, but it's with the Borg again, which is why I made the joke earlier. The amount of times that the Borg have rocked up, had their asses handed to them by multiple captains of the Federation. Picard, fucking Janeway, fucking they keep getting slapped back down. Their whole thing, resistance.
Contact even showed that Cisco could give them a bit of a whooping because he designed the Defiant and that thing survived them.
Exactly, right? So the Borg's whole
the Dominion to take that ship out.
The Borg's whole thing of resistance is futile. Apparently fucking not. Resistance is actually pretty fucking damn good.
Yeah.
Borg should learn persistence is futile because they keep coming back and getting told to fuck off. Keep coming back, told to fuck off. I guarantee you that probably the next 10 years from now, there'll be another Star Trek project and the Borg will be back yet again. But season 3 of Picard is most definitely fan service to all hell. You get pretty much the main core cast of TNG back together for one last mission, one last hurrah. They take the Enterprise D out for one last mission.
And ship comes back.
Yeah, and it feels like that one last big moment that TNG really kind of needed. And to see all of these characters now further along in their life, they're older, they're wiser, they've done things differently. To see them tackle a new threat and come out on top, it melts your heart. And we spoke about, I won't say it on here, but that ending bit that we were talking about last night, just even as a passing fangirl, I went, I know the significance of that, and that is beautiful to see that little moment with just all. But yeah,
it's fan service. It's good fun. I mean, from the clips I've watched on YouTube, because I haven't watched the series properly. Maybe I've seen the highlights and maybe I'll watch the full thing properly. I've heard it's a bit. Again, this is modern Trek. It's in modern Trek.
There are a couple of episodes. I will not lie. There are a couple of episodes, especially in the middle, because it's 10 episodes.
Yeah.
Sort of episodes 5 and 6. I was just like, can we get the story moving along a little bit now, please? I get it. We're all okay. Sorry for that little technical hitch, everyone. My computer got full up of memory, so we're gonna quickly run through this because the next 2 are animated shows, and then the final one is another live action one. We had 2 animated shows with Lower Decks and Star Trek Prodigy and Strange New Worlds. Now, I've not watched any of these, but but Lee has. Sorry, force of habit there.
It's all right. It's okay, force of habit.
To stress people, you don't know what my brain's going through right now. But, right, we're going to wrap this one.
Sure, guys watched them as well, but
I think he has. But right, Lee, give us the quick rundown on these 3 shows. You've seen them, so thoughts and feelings. Lower Decks first. That was Lower Decks first because that was the next release.
Right, so Lower Decks is. It's very much like we off camera this. Star Trek does Futurama.
Yes.
It is, however, very tongue-in-cheek. It brings up stuff that was left by the others. It acknowledges what was going on. It does it in a funny way. The characters are kind of lovable. They even get a little live action in the one I'll talk about in a bit, which is Strange New Worlds. There's an actual crossover between Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks. So that's nice and established. I mean, it is just generally, it's funny. It is literally every single problem that every single fan has ever brought up with Star Trek. Certain bad storylines, certain good storylines that had a bad pointing. And it is literally like put on display. It's literally like, here's all the faults with Star Trek put on display. The fact they've animated this, it's, from what I can understand, they've aimed this at like the teenager sort of group because,
yeah,
you know, and it's clearly an aim to get
it's another
younger,
younger audience in,
and I get that, and they've taken the franchise in. It's a good way of getting them in, because if you don't get the in jokes, you're going to go and watch the original to get the in joke.
The writers boldly going where no writers have gone before.
Yeah. they are acknowledging their mistakes, and I like it.
Which is good. You
It's good. It's nice to see Star Trek take that.
Quickly,
Prodigy.
What was that?
I haven't watched many episodes of this,
it's
so I'm not fully up to date.
The continuation of Voyager, isn't it? Sort of.
As far as it is, and it isn't. From what I've watched of it so far.
Holographic Janeway, I've heard, or something.
There's a holographic Janeway for sure. That I've managed to see up to there, right? So from what I can see, a Federation vessel, by the look of it, it's an experimental one, has ended up somehow back in the Delta Quadrant, and some other species in the Delta Quadrant have found it. And they're just they're in a bad situation. They're looking for a way out. Okay. They've come across this ship and they've kind of hijacked it, and they're trying to get out. And the holographic Janeway is helping them out. So what I've seen of it so far, this one, again, being animated, it's aimed at the much younger audience. So it's a bit more action-y and less story-driven. There's a story there, but it's more action-y. But that's because of the audience it's aimed at. So it's fair. And so far, I've got to say, it must be working because my son seems to enjoy watching it.
Well, there you go then.
So, again, I haven't got a problem with Prodigy thus far.
Right.
Which brings us, I suppose...
Strange New Worlds.
This one, I actually like it. This is the live action that it's... I think they've taken this...
Isn't it? This is meant to be...
Again, this is the thing from... And this is something I've noticed of a pattern. Since Enterprise finished and that was it was a prequel, and it seems like it was a misstep. Maybe that's a problem with some of these ones now, because the 09 films, they're kind of a prequel but in a different timeline.
Yeah.
Discovery is a prequel and doesn't know what it wants to do. Picard is a sequel.
Yeah,
Picard is an exception. Picard's a sequel.
It's a sequel that didn't know what it wanted to do. Strange New Worlds is a prequel that thinks
it does seem to know what it wants to do. They've got this.
It knows what it wants to do. It just doesn't know how to do it.
It's finding its feet. I think the main problem with this is due to the fact that it is Anson Mount and the crew of the Enterprise who were introduced in Discovery. It's kind of tied at the hip.
Yeah.
And it wants to divorce itself. I think that's its major failing.
Separation anxiety, I think, is what you're
looking at. It's got separation anxiety from Discovery. It wants to be its own thing, but it knows it's stuck. But the thing is, a bit like the original set series of Star Trek, the original series, TNG, Discovery, DS9, and Voyager. When they had a hitch or had a problem, they either buried it and let people forget about it, or let Lower Decks bring it back up as a joke.
Yeah.
Right? Or they acknowledge the problem and try to fix the writing error. And that's what they seem to be doing with Strange New Worlds. They can see there's been writing errors and they're trying to deal with them. They're taking them on the nose and they're trying to take the criticism and they're trying to take the right thing in the right direction.
Well, that brings us up to where we're currently at with Trek then. And we'll quickly spiel this up with my little thing that I wanted to talk about. You mentioned a little bit earlier about the LGBTQ stuff coming into Star Trek, the openly gay couple, all this, that, and the other. And yes, some of it can be ham-fisted, but sometimes when you have a message to make, sometimes you have to ham-fist it occasionally. But this is one little thing that I kind of get a little bit sick of hearing this day and age of, oh, Star Trek's gone woke. Oh, X-Men's gone woke. Excuse me, you clearly do not know. You clearly do not know your history. Things like Star Trek and X-Men and other such properties like that have always been woke, because you've got to remember, we talked about this in the last episode. the first interracial kiss back in 1966. That was a big deal back then. Nowadays, it's nothing, but back then, that was a big deal. So,
TNG.
wait,
There was a
let me,
TNG episode,
let me continue.
but I'll let you continue.
So, when in things like Star Trek Discovery and other such shows, you see these characters that are gay, trans, bi, pan, whatever, and you're going, oh, look, here they go, forcing the wokery down our throats. I'm sorry, but Star Trek has always been woke. Star Trek has always been about humanity as a whole moving forward into the stars, not bickering over race, religion, gender, sexuality, anything like that. In the world of Star Trek, we've moved beyond those things, right? And to say that it's forcing it down our throat, it's like, no, in that show, that's an everyday occurrence.
Yeah.
It's not
No, and that's the thing.
Representation. That's all it is.
That's the thing. It's like the way in which you represent sets of characters with particular qualities. So the TNG episode, and I can't remember the thing off the top of my head, the name of it. And it's an episode, if I just simply describe it, anybody who's a fan of it will know. And it's Riker comes across a culture that does not have gender. They're basically like the Asari of the aforementioned
Mass Effect.
Yeah, Mass Effect, right? They are all non-gendered, and that episode deals with that particular issue really quite well. There was thoughts and ideas of maybe making that a more long-term couple where Riker has this with this person, but due to the fact that that was filmed in the 90s,
Yeah.
people were not ready for that. People sometimes are still not ready for that.
Exactly. But I think people just need to remember
It's the way in which your representation, like nobody bats an eyelash about the original Star Trek crew. Nobody bats an eyelash.
Exactly. And I think you just have to accept that it's because of programs like Star Trek that we have, to a certain extent, the level of acceptance we do, because it's a brilliant teacher to hold up to young children and say, look, it's normal for them, it's normal for you. How they are being how they want to be, you be how you want to be. But yeah, we're going to end it there, everyone, because due to technical issues, we need to wrap this episode up quite quickly because we're having
unfortunately, Scotty was not on ball today.
Yes, my computer is giving me some jip. So I have been Callista Valentine. He has been Jimmy Lee Clifford. We will catch you in the next episode where we're going to talk about, is originality actually just a myth that we all believe? Catch you next time, everyone. Bye.